Lee, pretty historic times. You were there at the congressional hearing into the most recent JFK disclosures, and you were able to meet legendary film director and now also JFK legend Oliver Stone. How are you, Lee?
I'm very good, Jason. How are you?
I'm well. I'm sad I missed the hearing. And of course, people know I've been thwarted by a crew of jackasses for the past 8.5 years. I am sad that I missed it, but life goes on. I had important things to do. I meant to ask you, I saw in the audience, are you familiar with, his name is Sheehan. He's an attorney, maybe Gary. I'm not sure what his first name is. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I do not.
He's an attorney he's UFO attorney Sheehan.
Okay.
I saw him there. Daniel Sheehan is his name, and he's also an expert on JFK stuff. He's a very distinctive looking guy with this mop of white hair, and he was sitting in the audience of the thing.
I saw him, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know who
he's
it was.
an important guy who knows all kinds of stuff. But Lee, people want to hear about your impressions of the hearing. We're going to be doing, of course, a sponsor exclusive show on Patreon and Subscribestar and all that. But tell us how the hearing was, what you learned, what you observed. How was it?
Well, again, just so people know, I wrote an 11-part article about it. You saw it, right?
On Twitter, I saw. I didn't look at all the parts of it, but that's on Twitter or here on Patreon?
Yeah, all 11 parts are on Twitter. Because I did it, I went there because I got donations. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think I said last week, if I raised $650,
Right.
which seemed impossible, because I'd raised no money in like 3 days. I told people I'd go if I raised $650. So a donation came in, probably over $650.
Wow.
And at first I was just excited, because I could eat.
Right.
And then I was sitting, I said, I got a DTC. So, I said, if I raise money, I'll go. So I guess I'm going.
Yeah, that's great.
So then I started planning the trip, making sure I could get down there. It's a couple hours away from where I am in Virginia now. And but I got down there, got the whole thing worked out. And you've been to Capitol many times.
Yep.
There's no place to park.
Oh, no, well,
Right.
I found a few places, but you got to know, it takes a little while to.
Well, and even then, you're not.
It fills up. And you know what,
Yeah.
Lee? This was a big hearing. Also, it wasn't happening in the regular room that I am normally going to many hearings in, and you had some kind of badge. You had to go through security. What was that all about?
Well, I'll talk about that. When was the last time we were at the Capitol?
The
in
week.
the Capitol.
Well, because I went there. It was originally scheduled for March 24th. And so I went there for that, and they were like, oh, it's canceled. So I said, damn it. So then I came back to New York, and I had a hearing in the case that just got dismissed. But of course, that was purely set up to waste my time. So that was very annoying. But just a week before.
Well, I talked about this in the article, but I didn't know when I moved to DC in 2017. I never lived there before. So I didn't know I should have known, but DC is like Orlando, right?
How do you
That
mean?
makes
Tourists everywhere?
There's tourists everywhere. It's a tourist town. I mean, it really is. When you go around the town, there's big crowds of Chinese tourists on scooters or
Yes.
whatever,
And somebody with a flag leading them around doing the tour?
and lots of people with kids and everything. So
Yeah.
DC is very much a tourist town. I should know that because again, everyone in this high school probably they had a school trip to DC, right?
Yeah. I speak to them sometimes. A whole high school trip or junior, whatever, came over to me, and I started to tell them about stuff, and the teacher was like, no, don't put them on the video. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, right.
They came up to me.
So it's a very touristy town. And the time we were there, April 1st, it's the cherry blossom season. It's
Yeah.
right at the point where cherry blossoms are starting to bloom. A beautiful time in DC. By the way, the weather was nice, a little cool, but a beautiful day. Beautiful, clear, sunny day. So we got there, and we tried to. The crosstown traffic was bad as it can be,
Yeah, Jimi
and so
Hendrix would agree.
and so so we had to get to the Capitol. We ended up getting there. The hearing was set to begin at 2 p.m. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got there about 1:55, parked at 1:55. Okay.
Whoa.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, we did what we could. Again, the traffic was really bad. And so we parked at the Capitol, had no idea where we were going. And the guards are not helpful. Uh, if you say to them, is it JFK hearing today? They have no idea. And even once I found out where the room was, 210, by the way, in case you're keeping track, room 210, we're on the house side. And also, I'll just backtrack 1 second. Since uh, since January 6th, since the riot or
Yeah.
whatever
Right. Worse
demonstration,
than worse than 9/11.
but since then you can't get close the way you used to. You used to be able to get fairly close to the Capitol. Now there's a more perimeter.
They were also doing some construction on it or something. There's always something going on over there, isn't there?
That's right. Yeah. So we got there. We figured out where it was. We took the escalator down because you had to get on the subterranean floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Makes sense. Where the
Yeah.
business center is. Uh, so we got there. By the time we got in the room, it was like 2:15. So I figured, okay, well, I'm thinking to myself, it's okay. The thing I want to be here for really is the end. So I just told myself, okay, it'll be okay. We had not started yet. Like 2:15 and not
That's a little bit
started.
unusual for it to be late because, like, James Comer would be yelling at them or something. Sometimes it happens. They're not that organized over there, Lee. It's Congress.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it surprised me a little, but I was glad. Okay. So we went in the room, and the room was really not full at all. Like 2, 3 dozen people. It's
Yeah, I saw the pictures. It was pretty empty, and I was annoyed.
I know I felt the same way, but it was easy to get seating, so I got a seat in the front row, which means you're 40 yards from the congressman.
Right.
I was sort of behind Oliver Stone and Jefferson Morley, the witnesses.
Yeah.
Was I was kind of even with them, being in the front row. Now I should have put myself back where everyone was sitting, because then I could have been on C-SPAN.
It's true. I was looking for you there, and I was like, "Where is Lee?"
Well, I was in the front row, so it was
What
fine.
is that Bud Light commercial? Was that I must be in the front row?
Yeah, yeah. So the hearing was late, but they got started, and I thought overall Luna did a very good job. I thought she was professional. She was engaged. She knew what she was talking about. And the witnesses I thought were very good. Now, I saw some people on X say, why is Oliver Stone there?
He's an expert in the subject matter.
But let's go beyond that, because that's an opinion. I'm not debating it. But, some people say, no, he's not an expert.
He's just a guy.
But he's the guy who got these records released in the first place.
Right.
When his film JFK came out, it led to Congress passing legislation to release the records in like 25 years. Remember that? That was a direct result of that film.
Yes, I do remember. There's a JFK Records Act of 1992 or something like this.
Right. And JFK was the first time many people had seen the Zapruder film.
Exactly. Well, Lee, I'm glad you're bringing this up because there was a very sophisticated up-res process. The recovery of the Zapruder film used the best available technology and technicians in Hollywood at the time. And they went back to the original, it was shot on this format of 8 millimeter film where the film was loaded into a cartridge and it was a
Right.
16 millimeter load that would shoot for whatever number of minutes, and then you'd flip the cartridge and shoot the other half of the film. When you went to process it, Kodak would cut it in half and give you two 8 millimeter strips. So this thing went back, you got the sprocket holes and everything.
Right. Yeah. So the I thought about this because I'm an Oliver Stone fan. First off, I mean, as a filmmaker, he's one of my favorite filmmakers. And I like I've told this before, but I'm almost 60. I was born in 1965. So for me, Star Wars and Close Encounters, I saw like Star Wars, I saw 12 times this summer. Close Encounters, I saw it like 10. So I've been to movie.
In the theater.
Right, in the theaters.
Do you
Right.
remember this, Lee? Did this happen in New England? When I went to see Star Wars, we had to go, it was 1977, had to go like 5 times because the line was so big you couldn't get in. People were there doing devil sticks and making, it was like a Grateful Dead concert in the parking lot of the movie
Yeah,
theater.
yeah, but very much so. In fact, the thing I remember is when the final sequence where they fly into the trench of the Death Star, when that would happen, I would always sit on something in the seat and grab the edges because the feeling of diving down into the trench, it felt like you were diving into the trench. It was like,
Nobody had ever seen a movie like that before. When that movie opened up and the big spaceship flew over you, we don't get that anymore, Lee. They just demolished the movie theater on 23rd Street, and there's some kind of effort now in California to double the tax benefit because there's so little film production work happening. I think that industry is in a lot of trouble.
well, I saw an interview with Seth Rogen recently. Howard Stern had Seth Rogen, the comedian, on a show. And Seth pointed out something I think very good. He pointed out they always say about film 1950s when TV came out, people were saying in Hollywood, it's the end of film in the 1950s. Because, this periodically happens. Things happen and people go, okay, film's over. And that's why they're always looking. You know this because you worked in 3D stereoscopic films. 3D stereo was like the thing was going to save movies. Periodically, people in the industry go, okay, films are over.
Yeah.
It's VHS. This is the end of film.
Right.
Or, Laserdisc or streaming. And
Laserdisc is going to knock it out of the box.
no, but you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Well, yeah, they were worried about each of these because there was an increase in the quality and they were worried it was going to cannibalize ticket sales. But I think that each of these things changed the nature of the way people consumed home entertainment. And I mean, this is relevant to our JFK conversation because you're right, Lee. We really hadn't seen a feature film like Oliver Stone's JFK before that. And I don't think you could get that film today. It really is an anomaly. First of all, because it's like 3.5 hours long. So movie theaters hate it because it's less showings per day. It's going to make less money. But it was a cultural phenomenon. I'm pretty sure it was a pretty big box office success. And it cemented him as a legendary American filmmaker, right?
well, let me say this. So, when I was saying about Star Wars and Close Encounters, okay, those are my films' former years. But when I was 18 or 19, I was working at a pizza place. Platoon came out. Oliver Stone's first film as director.
Uh-huh.
He'd written films like Scarface with Al
Right.
Pacino. He was
Mhm.
but this is his first film as director. And for me, I saw Platoon like 8 times in theaters. I thought
Wow.
it really spoke to me because like Charlie Sheen's character was like 18 or 19 in the film.
It's Oliver Stone, that character. It's autobiographical, the film.
That's right. And so for some reason, because it's a great film. It really is a good film. And but that film was my first adult film. Makes sense. It's the first film that I've got onto as like I'm a man now,
Not a
basically.
teenager. Yeah. No, it was a pretty
Right.
serious film. When did this come out? 1986. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I was a teenager. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Look at how young Willem Dafoe is.
In fact, there's a good friend. Yeah, the acting is great. Tom Berenger and
Yeah,
Willem Dafoe. It's so
yeah.
great. It's a great soundtrack. It's really like nothing I'd ever seen before. Uh, Almost a documentary in its own way. It's
Hmm.
like you're going along with them. Uh, so I thought about that as I was sitting in the audience for this. I'm like, Oliver Stone is one of my favorite filmmakers. I think films like uh, Natural Born Killers are
It was
innovative
amazing. Rodney
and
Dangerfield in that film. A lot of people don't remember. What a performance.
a child molester with a laugh track. Also, Ronnie
It was
Dangerfield.
so bizarre,
Yeah, but it
but it worked.
it worked. Is and he's made so many amazing films, Oliver Stone. And I thought about that, but I also thought again because I've made films, you know him. Uh, See, I love Star Wars. I love Platoon, but someone else might hate them, and they're not wrong. They're just different. You
That's what
see
makes horse races, Lee.
that? Yeah, but I thought here's a guy, Oliver Stone, who's I think a great filmmaker, but he's a historic filmmaker because he made a film that has him now sitting in front of Congress. The JFK files were literally released because of him.
You're
I mean,
right.
I thought, well, wow. And for me to be there at that hearing, all these thoughts were on my head. I really thought about his career. And again, he's made so many good films. Uh, and but to you might hope as a filmmaker you'll win an Oscar someday, right?
Hmm.
Very few people think they'll change history.
Yeah, right.
And for people who criticize the film, I will say they point to things they say are inaccurate. They go, oh, "This is not true," and this is
But
not
it's
true.
not a documentary. It's a dramatization of Jim Garrison's life.
Yeah, Jim Garrison's case basically, and
Yes.
also the innovative stuff he did as a filmmaker in that film. Like if you watch the film, some sequences are in black and white.
Right. Oh yeah, when he's doing the cross-examination and he's talking about the shooting in Dealey Plaza, how it smash cuts to black and white, to original 16 millimeter footage, to recreated stuff, to courtroom scenes. It is amazing. It's gripping. Newman
And
is in that film.
yeah, they're right. And there's a code to that. You know, scenes that are shot in black and white mean something. They're like things that are theoretical but not proven. Things that are in color are things that are
Wow.
established. There really is. So, so I mean, as a filmmaker, that's an amazing thing. But remember how it starts?
What
Because not
starts?
only,
The movie JFK?
yeah, because not
I
only was
don't
it the first
exactly remember
time,
how it starts.
okay, it starts with a scene that many people had not seen either. They never seen the reporter from.
Oh, I think I do remember. It's David Ferry. He's giving testimony or something.
No, the first thing on the film is Dwight D. Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech. Eisenhower's farewell speech,
Hmm. In a small
and
square in the middle.
yeah, I forget. I
Maybe.
think about might be growing, but that is so. My point is that he got it exactly right. That is what's going on because this was ultimately a death about the military industrial complex and the
Yeah.
CIA. And uh, and one thing I've said before, but it really occurred to me uh, sitting there. was that the film is the JFK assassination is like I called my piece the magic mirror. Okay, everybody brings their own story to JFK. What I mean by that is to some people, it's it represents the Jews or something. To some people, it represents the CIA. You know, for some people, it's the Russians. You see what I'm saying? But there's one thing that's everyone, I think, universal. The country changed after JFK. The country was
Mm.
different, fundamentally different.
Mm-hmm.
Someone in testimony said 90% of Americans don't believe the story. And it turns out they're right not to believe the story.
Yeah.
You know, the initial story, whatever people think, this is what I'm saying. A lot of people are just focused, okay, who shot him? I don't care who shot
Right.
him.
Yeah, they
And
want give it to me in 30 seconds. It's like the most complicated thing that people have been thinking about for 60 years, and they want an immediate answer.
they want that in the documents too. But
Yeah.
there's no that, and that doesn't matter. Because like Ben Shapiro, we talked about this before the show, uh, did an interview with someone, and he's kind of like, well, I think Oswald shot him. And I don't, but okay. But who cares? Who cares about that? Because what I know for sure, and this came out in testimony and it came out in the documents, three CIA people, top CIA people, Helms, Richard Helms, director of CIA, and Angleton, James Jesus Angleton,
Uh-huh.
and George Jordanese all lied to Congress
Right.
about went before Congress, swore an oath, and lied
Yeah,
blatantly.
Jefferson Morley was bringing that up, and he said they should be investigating that.
Right. And that is that a crime? Yes. Because you can't lie to Congress. Now, why they're lying? That's why you investigate. I have my suspicions. I think
Yeah.
I know why. But the reason you investigate is because but I know for sure they lied.
Yeah.
I know for sure Joe Neves, for instance, was made the liaison between Congress and the CIA, and they were investigating the Cuban connection. And the person running the Cuban connection at the CIA was George Jordanese, who went back to the committee and said, "Well, we don't know anything." So
Yeah, I
he was
mean, the cover-up is unbelievable.
right. And why they're covering it up? Why? I don't know. I want to find out. And it would be one thing if it had happened 60 years ago, okay, and it not happened. But do we know for sure? I mean, absolutely for sure that the FBI and the CIA lied about the laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's proven that the FBI had the laptop for months. And so when former heads of the CIA and top people at the CIA and FBI come out and sign a letter, that's election interference, right? I mean,
I would say.
and so it would be one thing like if the CIA had done some stuff 60 years ago, it was now clean hands, right?
Exactly. It's just gotten worse, is what it is. And I mean, see, each weekly, and we're just about to make our way over to our sponsor exclusive segment. So I want to make sure that people know they can join us for that on patreon.com/Stranahan and on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. So we got a lot more to talk about over there, Lee, and let's do that. We'll continue to look at some of this video. We'll talk about the CIA. I mean, I'll tell you the reason why I think they want to cover it up is that this case, it's like the Rosetta Stone to the way the CIA operates, the relationships, the things that they do, the ways they communicate, etc. But we'll get in depth on that right now. People should stay with us. We'll be back in 5 minutes, and thanks to everybody who sponsors the show.
So
Lee couldn't go to these.
one last thing. before
Yeah.
we go to that, we should mention this. I've had strokes. That's why I'm talking like this. Just so
Yes,
people,
it is worth
people are,
mentioning because a lot of people are seeing this for the first time and don't know that. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that, Lee. And by the way, your voice is sounding great. Energy is up. So we'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody.